Hey, Leo here. I want to appreciate you for this moment. What moment? This is just a moment, a word moment. That's it. I just want to give you a word of perspective, a word of encouragement, a word of clarity, a word of empowerment. And you see what that word is. It's a good name, right? And I'm going to give you some lessons from Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, related to this, but I want to share something with you first, as far as giving you a way to kind of connect with this perspective before I really jump into it. Then from there, what I'm going to do is share with you something my dad shared with me growing up. And then I'll jump into the lessons from Coach Prime as it pertains to the power, perspective, and, purveyance of a good name. All right. So one of the things that's interesting, so if you see on this channel, you'll see two names. You'll see the People Technician and you'll see Leo Simpson II. Those are two names. Those two names kind of more so are tags or brands, if you will, related to me, because my given name is Leonard Earl Simpson II. It is the name that was given to me as a namesake of my father. So my father's name was Leonard Earl Simpson. All right. And then when I was born, he started going by Leonard Earl Simpson the first. Okay. My name is Leonard Earl Simpson the second. Like my mother, she made sure I put that on my papers when I started writing at school. Okay. That's another story. This is a story. Well, here's the thing. My dad, growing up, I saw the power of my dad's name. For example, um, my dad, when in high school, he went to high school at Crosby High School back in the late 70s. And he happened to be a part of the team that really put Crosby High School on the map in football related to really being competitive. He started playing on varsity in his junior season. And, he ended up coming in after the starting quarterback, who was a senior that year, had a poor attitude. And the coach just was like, you know what? I'm tired of this fella. He got a poor attitude. He don't want to work. He just don't want to cooperate. We got to get him out of here. And so he calls my dad's number 11. Simpson, get in there. My dad, he would stay past time. He would work out longer, get some extra reps and runs in. He had camaraderie with the team members. I mean, he was somebody that was worthy. My dad, they also called him Rev. My dad was a preacher to him, and so he was praying for him. He was giving them the word of encouragement and truth. He had a wonderful name. Let me tell you how powerful that name was. He was literally in his senior season, technically a hometown hero. I mean, he was the catalyst for helping them to make it to, I think it was the state quarterfinals, and literally be in the position to where they almost became state champions. I mean, they had never gone that far in the history of their high school. Well, I come on the scene, grow up in high school. I'm not even anywhere near Crosby. And just so happened where I went to school and would play ball at the YMCA, people who went to school with my dad or lived in the area where my dad grew up were living in that area. It's two guys in particular. And this one guy, he would come up to the YMCA and, we play basketball. And one day he asked me, "What's your name, son?" I said, "Leonard Simpson the second." He said, "What? Leonard Simpson? Your dad, Leonard Simpson from Crosby?" Yeah. Oh, man. And look, I experienced this a lot in my life, even when we go to places like Crosby and Bear Station and Baytown in the Houston area. I mean, like, if you came across somebody who knew about the late 70s, I think it was like 78 or somewhere in there, knew about that team from that time frame, and they heard the name Leonard Simpson, oh my goodness, they would say, "Oh, he was such a great player. He was such a great guy. He had such a great reputation. Oh my goodness, why? My dad wasn't just a good player. He had a really good name." And you might understand exactly what I'm talking about. You might be that person. You might have a relative, a friend, a family member, somebody you're very closely acquainted with it. For example, another quick story. I actually performed wedding ceremonies at points in times for people, and there was one couple that I was doing a wedding for. When I actually did the initial interview call with the couple, the bride and the groom, when I get the information as far as, what's everybody's names, first and last, and all of that. When I got the groom's name, he said his first name, and then he said last name McConaughey. I said, any relation? That's all I said. He said, yeah, first cousin. Now, I didn't say, are you related to Matthew McConaughey? No. I said, any relation. Why? Because he understood the power of his name. And so much and so he had the question before in different ways and know what people ask when he say what his last name is. And the truth of the matter is this: he understood the impact of the name that his first cousin bear, which was the same as his. He understood how his cousin positioned him to be in a place where that name would actually be recognized when people hear it, okay? And so I want to share with you in the next, I'd say 15 minutes, probably less than that, 15 minutes that I'm with you, about a good name. First, I want to give you what my dad gave me growing up from a proverb, and then I want to give you those lessons from Coach Prime. Proverbs 22:1, this is one of the Proverbs of King Solomon. A good name is to be chosen rather than great riches, and favor is better than silver and gold. Now, let me just be honest with you. Growing up, the way it kind of was conveyed to me, it was basically that a good name was an option and great riches was an option, and you have to choose one. In the same manner, the perception was favor was an option, and then silver and gold were an option. Well, that's not really what this proverb is saying. What it's saying is, as it pertains to riches, as it pertains to silver and gold, the truth of the matter is that the silver and gold has its place, but if you're going to understand which one is more valuable, how do I know? In the second portion, and one of the things about the Proverbs of Solomon, especially in the 22nd and some of the others, he would have these validating statements. So he would say one thing, and then he would say a validating statement, which was said differently, but it was essentially the same thing to provide clarity. So when he says a good name is to be chosen rather than great riches, watch this on the second one. And favor is better than silver or gold. What he's saying is favor is more valuable. Favor is the thing that has more weight and more substance than silver and gold. It doesn't say choose one or the other, meaning, well, if you want favor, then you can't have silver or gold. But it kind of does assume that if you want silver or gold, or you want great riches, you could actually not have favor or a good name. See, that's very important. I want to say this real quickly. In order to have so if you want a good name has a way of assuming great riches. In the same way, having favor has a way of assuming silver or gold. But it's not necessarily absolutely assumed that great riches assumes a good name. And we know that because there's a lot of people who got great riches and they don't have a good name. There's a lot of people got silver or gold. They got lots of moolah, but they don't necessarily have favor. Oh, they can make things happen. They can demand and dictate, but for there to be favor in the context of what it is they're able to receive, it doesn't necessarily exist. In truth, some people really don't like to deal with, but that's another thing. Okay, so let's get to the goodness. So that's what my dad gave me, that proverb. Like he always talked about a good name, son, a good name, son. And he understood what he was saying because he had experienced the impact and the value of a good name. All right. So what's the lessons from Coach Prime? What's the lessons from Deion Sanders, prime time, Neon Deion? What's the lessons? Well, Coach Prime literally has been getting lots of prime time in the media related to what he's done at Jackson State University, the transition from Jackson State University, and then his being in Colorado. And more specifically, I want to talk about where he is now with regard to the University of Colorado Boulder. Okay. And there, I want to give you one statistic related to him before I give you these three things that are valuable lessons related to a good name from him. Okay. Now, these are not things he said. These are things that I've observed. These are things that I want to give to you as a value. Okay. Listen. One statistic related to Coach Prime, which kind of was the instigator for me to want to share this. I was listening to Skip and Shannon Sharp, and they were talking about what it is that Deion Sanders is doing and what is happening and how successful they believe he's going to be, kind of doing some predictions, all of that. And one of the interesting parts was as they begin to talk about, is it working, him being there, they talked about one of the statistics related to the transfer portal related to players. In the transfer portal, as it pertains to who is kind of like a premier recruiting force in NCAA college football, what happens is they rate based on who's getting more players and who's getting, high rated players and recognized players. They rate them based on a number of factors. Last year in recruiting, listen carefully, related to the transfer portal, University of Colorado Boulder was number 78. This year, under Coach Prime, who just got there, I mean, maybe about a month and a half ago at the time of this video, they're number 7. In 1 year, they go from number 78 in transfer portal ranking to number 7 in their top 10. Why? Somebody's good name. Let me say this to you. So here, let me get with the 3 lessons. Let me start with the first one. The first lesson as to why they went from number 78 in the transfer portal ranking to number 1 in the transfer portal ranking. Number 1 is, as it pertains to a good name goes ahead of you. Listen. A good name is like a delegation you send ahead of you to prepare the way for you. Oh, it's kind of like saying, hey, I'm coming to town, so go and announce my coming. Yeah. Like during Christmas time, we say, Santa Claus is coming to town. That's kind of like a delegation. Santa ain't here. But the song is letting it be known that Santa is on his way, and it's making known that this recognized and reputable person is about to present themselves. Santa ain't here, but his name is. And his name carries with it weight. And Coach Prime showed the power of prime time. Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, as it pertains to a name going ahead of you. See, what you got to understand is the reason it says a good name is to be chosen rather than great riches. Your name can go ahead of you in ways that your riches can't. The favor can go ahead of you in ways that silver or gold can't. And then it makes way for the great riches. It makes way for the silver or gold. Yeah. See, that's one thing that is so powerful about a good name. That's one of the things my dad used to always really try to emphasize. Like, your name can precede you. Yes, it can go ahead of you. It can actually do things for you and work in ways for you in a way that you can't by yourself. Which leads me to number 2. Your name carries you, meaning it will go ahead of you and prepare the way for you. But then once you get to where you are, your name will help to carry you, which means there's an important aspect of making sure that you continue to build the beauty, the bounty, and the magnificence of that name. You have to continue to pour into the value of the name. You have to continue to build the brand. And Coach Prime, from the time that he was in high school, covered into college, he said, man, I got to build this brand. I got to build this character. And so he built Prime Time. And he became one of the first top paid cornerbacks, defensive backs in NFL history. Oh my goodness. Y'all got to let him tell the story. Go listen to some of his interviews and things that he's talked about related to how Prime Time came in the picture. But he literally understood how important it was to facilitate the magnificence, the excellence, the sauciness, the goodness of the name. See, the name will carry you if you take care of the name. So the name that is branded in beauty and vitality and value and excellence, that name has the power to go ahead of you and have a personality of its own. Matter of fact, that name, in regard to going ahead of you and carrying you, it can exceed you too, because in your passing, that name still has the ability to provide value. I mean, let's look at many of the people who are deceased today. I mean, one of the people love to talk about Michael Jackson, how much money he's still making while he's in the grave. Number 3 speaks to what all has been said. A good name blesses others. This speaks to that statistic of number 7 this year in the transfer portal versus last year, 78 in the transfer portal. What do you mean? One of the major reasons why these athletes, these student athletes, are in record numbers in the transfer portal, committing to, at high levels of rankings, committing to Colorado, University of Colorado, is because they hadn't won a game yet. And they're committing. Why? It's because of the name of Coach Prime. They believe that going and playing for Coach Prime, he will give them what they need to compete at the highest level and be able to provide exceptional value. Watch this. You say, but he hasn't won at that level. He's at the HBCU level. It's the FCS, not the BCS. Okay, I get you. But here's the truth. He hadn't won at the FCS level when he came to Jackson State. He had a philosophy. He has a love. And his reputation, remember, his name has gone ahead of him. People, athletes are talking about him. People see what he's doing. They're using the value of social media today in such a way that it's allowing his name to actually take precedence and take off in ways and carry him in ways that he can never by himself, such that people have the belief, these players have the belief that his name can bless them. If they do not make it to the next level of the NFL, they believe, because of what they've seen, that he can help them be great at whatever they do in life. Man, but why is all of this the case? Remember, I told you, they hadn't played a game yet at all. They have not taken one snap yet. And these people are in record numbers. These young guys, young men in record numbers are committing to the University of Colorado. Why? Coach Prime. That name. Why? Because his name has authority for producing value, vitality, and volume of success. See, let me ask you this question. Did Coach Prime choose his name over the great riches? Absolutely. Did he choose favor over and consider that the favor was better than the silver and gold? He did. But let me ask you, did the bag come with it? Absolutely. He got a really healthy salary. I mean, really healthy salary. But let me tell you the biggest piece. He got a wonderful amount of contingency. Well, not contingent. It's not. It's another term I'm looking for. He got an earmarked amount. It's kind of like an encumbrance is what I was thinking about. He got an earmarked amount of funds dedicated for salaries for his coaching staff in order to give them some beautiful, valuable leverage related to, watch this, them having a true valuable experience there in their experience creating value for others. Did he have to choose his good name and favor and eliminate the finances? Nope. That's why I said the truth is the name assumes in many instances the accessibility to great riches. The favor being better than the silver or gold actually assumes that silver or gold is able to follow it with great sustainability. And let me just say this. It's hard to be in this life and operate in such a way, listen to me carefully, and operate in such a way that you find yourself doing great, creating a great reputation for yourself, an excellent brand and significant value, and people not begin to seek you out and give you the bag for it. Like they seek you out for the value you offer because your name carries the weight of he's able to or she's able to produce something that makes a difference. See, here's what I want you to know. The reason this proverb says what it says, good name is to be chosen rather than great riches, and favor is better than silver and gold, is to say, if you want great riches, prioritize a good name, prioritize the brand. If you want silver or gold, prioritize favor. That's really what it's trying to communicate. And you got to understand what it is that Coach Prime has related to the statistics of the transfer portal. 7 this year, 78 last year. That's called favor. And that favor comes from the good name that he has nurtured, not just for his own benefit, but for others, in such a way that he's made sure it can go ahead of him and precede him and outlive him. It can also carry him, and it can bless others, not just his athletes, but his equipment people, his staff of coaches. All right. So here, what should you do with this? What you should do with this is, first and foremost, if you got some issues or some critiques about Coach Prime, put that aside, because that's not what this segment is about. The second thing, which is the chief thing above that, is to ensure that you extract that lesson and see the uniqueness of the demonstration in the lesson and the subject matter, the personality of the lesson, to say, am I really building a name that can go ahead of me? Am I building a name that can carry me? Am I building a name and nurturing a name that can bless others? Or is it really that all that I'm about today is just about the means I'm acquiring, the compensation I'm getting, the things I'm able to consume? Is it about the silver and gold, meaning the substance I'm able to acquire and to be able to floss, the assets I have, right? But deeper than that, a good name is not just it goes ahead of you, carries you, and blesses others in the context of today. A better name is one where particularly a good man, really that has a good name, leaves an inheritance for their children's children, meaning make a difference today in the environment that you're in, but also position yourself to where your good name can preserve those connected with your lineage in such a way that is so profound. Like, let your good name be a platform for your children and your grandchildren, right? Do that. Last thing I want to leave you with is, so talked about how my dad, had a good name in high school. Unfortunately, when my dad passed away, and it's something I talk about in the subject matter of one of my books, my daddy told me he was murdered. Unique subject line. My dad, while a man with a good name for a majority of his years, when he died, when it came to my family and me, my children, my brother, his family, he didn't die with a good name. He didn't die with a good name because there were certain aspects about his affairs that didn't rightly line up the way that he spoke, right? He said, for many years, I want to leave an inheritance for my children's children. And when he passed away, suddenly, unexpected, kind of get some connection with the title if you hear that. I asked my daughters a question. I said, did your grandfather leave anything in your name? I said, no. Did that leave my dad with a good name? Not with us. Because he said one thing, and the situation and circumstance related to the end of his life communicated another. My dad's name went ahead of him. It carried him. It blessed him. But when you don't nurture the name appropriately, it'll go ahead of you, but it'll go ahead of you in pain. And instead of carrying you, it will bury you. And instead of blessing others, it will burden them. So I want to encourage you to value a good name. I want to leave you with this word moment to know that a good name is to be chosen rather than great riches, and favor is better than silver and gold. But that name can't be good unless you nurture it and intentionally ensure its value, protection, preservation, and provision for others. You hit me now? Take care.